All right. We're going to call the meeting to order at this time, and I'm going to offer up a prayer for guidance tonight. Bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you in all seasons. We thank you at all times. And we thank you for your courage and strength that you give us if we just call on your name. So tonight we call upon you. We pray for wisdom, as we always need it. Lord, we pray for unity. We pray, God, for a spirit of cooperation and just wisdom looking forward as to decisions for now as well as those we need to think about for down the road. Thank you that we are not alone in this task, but we've got great people here that help us, that work on behalf of the township. Pray that their endeavors would be blessed and that you would truly protect and profit the work of our employees of the township and, of course, first responders. And we thank you for our residents and all that they contribute, their businesses, their homes, their churches and schools, all that they do in these different arenas. We just pray, God, that it would all work together for good and that we would see just a real blessing and real peace upon this community. Pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
If you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seated. Groom side here, you've got only one. The bride's got all kinds of friends. The role's a little different tonight.
Yes, Mr. Schwalm and Treasurer DeWitt are both absent with notice.
Okay. Well, we still have a quorum, and welcome all of those that came tonight, board members, and also those in the public, so appreciate it. We have a number of items here. We're going to approve the agenda, and then we've got several special items on the front end of tonight's meeting. So is there a motion among the board to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All right. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the agenda is approved. I like your shirt.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Item 6 then. It's a pleasure from time to time when we have an opportunity to recognize someone for, I think he might say, and maybe you will have a chance to say, I'm just being what I hope anyone would be, right? And being available in a situation of crisis. But not everyone could do what this gentleman did. So at this time, we want to recognize Gary Danielson for a heroic effort on his part, being timely in a moment that helped to save and avert the loss of life. So I think, Chief, would you like to come forward and address the board? And then at that point, you can... Yeah, okay.
Chief Matt DeWitt, members of the board. Tonight, I'm honored to present the Hero, or the Citizens Hero Award tonight, recognizing Gary Danielson. I had the honor and pleasure of working with Gary Danielson when I first started my career. He retired as a 17-year veteran of Georgetown Fire Department. In the early morning hours of January 19, 2026, on his way to work, Gary Danielson noticed the flames coming from a residence. He notified 911, personally turned around and knocked on the door, alerting the homeowners of the safe evacuation of them and their pets. Gary, anything? Hand you your award.
It says a hero award. I don't consider myself a hero. I consider myself someone that was raised well, and I guess I'd do I'd hope someone would do that for my family. Yeah, like he said, I saw the flames. I turned around, called 911, went up, knocked on the door until they got up, woke them up from their sleep, got them out of the house safely, and then as soon as I got them out, the sheriff's department showed up, so I let them take it from there, and I went on to work. So God put me at the right place at the right time. I'm very thankful that everything turned out good. 17 years of fire department. It just, once a firefighter, always a firefighter.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On behalf of Georgetown Fire, here's your award. We can have the board come down.
We are. We're going to have a picture. That's good.
Right here.
Stand here or come around?
I can go around.
Come on around. I'm sure you hear this all the time, but you're not the former quarterback, right?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Going on both sides if we could.
You guys next to each other. So matching suit coats tonight. Yeah, that was a good planning.
We'll look this way first.
Okay. There we go.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No
Thanks so
problem.
much.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
You betcha. Thank you.
Saved their lives. That's awesome.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks for being a good citizen.
Have a good evening. A couple thoughts come to mind. One, give honor to whom honor is due. I think that's appropriate. I appreciate that we do that, Chief. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like a hero. He doesn't need it. He doesn't want it. We need to give it to him. So we need to honor those that deserve it. And then the second is just to keep our eyes open and to have the courage to act, because any one of us could find ourselves in an unexpected situation. And rather than the first thought being, well, somebody's going to do something, that somebody's might be us, So
He said he turned around and once he saw the flames, he turned around and on his way to work. So that's awesome.
Well, all right, another special here on the front end. We've got John Teeples here tonight. John, welcome. John has begun to make it a habit now to come and update us as one of our Board of Commissioner representatives. He's also the chairman of that board there with the Ottawa County Commission, so we appreciate your leadership in that committee and that commission, and as well as your representation of Georgetown. So thank you, John.
Thank you, but I'm no longer chairman. As of the 1st of January, we switched. We're on a one-year cycle, so this is the first public comment I've made about any of this for the last year. So first of all, I wanted to thank Justin, because last week we used the library downstairs as a county for the public hearing on Community Mental Health Authority issue. And like I said then, I've never seen so much county brass in Georgetown in my 35 years of being here. I kept thinking about you, Gary. I go, you appreciate this. So anyway, thanks for setting that up and allow us to happen. So I'd like to address my comments tonight basically on in three segments. One, what did we do last year as a county board? What did I learn over the last year or so? And where do I see the county going? So I will say that last year was the most difficult work of my entire legal career. It was the most intense, time-consuming, all-inclusive. It was a time that, from the very beginning, I simply prayed that God would give me the wisdom of Solomon to lead the county, and it was a real challenge. But I'm very thankful for what we've accomplished, and I'll explain a little bit why. So when I was elected to the commission, I had two primary priorities. One was stabilize the workforce, and second, to bring public trust back into county government. Those were the two primary objectives. Then as chairman, I knew that in order for us to move ahead with the county and get to the more important issues that we need to address in the county, and I'll address some of those, we needed to fix and clean up some stuff that had been happening over the last 2 years to put things back on firm footing to move forward. And I knew there had to be, from my perspective, I needed to model a new leadership style, one that was more open, that allowed for diversity of opinions, that was more respectful, more tolerant of different people and views. The first thing that I knew that we had to do was on day one, dealt with, what I'm going to lay out are things that I'd identified that I knew that had to happen in sequence. Even though some people wanted me to move faster on certain issues, I knew that they had to play out in the course of time, and it just had to play out that way, and from my perspective. So the first was the assignments of commissioners to county boards. There are 29 county boards that commissioners get assigned to. On top of that, we have standing committees and then the main board, okay? So under the prior board administration, it was a 5-to-1 ratio. If you were part of that group, you got 5 committees. If you were not, you got 1, if any, on the county boards. On the standing committees, it was just like that. Sometimes you weren't even, if you were not part of the group, you were not any standing committee, all right? So what I did is said, no, that's not going to happen. All committees are going to be equal in assignments, and the ratio was everybody got 3, essentially 3. And then as the chairman, I have to sit on some as a matter of course anyway, so there was some of those for me. Just statutorily, I had to be on those. But otherwise, it was across the board. There was no difference because I wasn't going to play this game. I didn't want that perception to happen. I also wanted to streamline government. There were a number of standing committees, and I can't remember how many. Something tells me in the back of my head there were 7 standing committees, like finance and planning and others. I narrowed it to 2. And instead of assigning who was going to be on those, I said, we're all on it. We're all going to hear the same information. We're all going to talk about it together as a committee, and then we'll bring it to then the committees, of course, recommend to the standing board later on. So we were all in it together, and and we changed from having 2 meetings a month to 1, board meetings a month, right? It worked great. We only had to call a special meeting 1 time during the year. Otherwise, 1 meeting a month worked fine for the board, and 1 day a month for those 2 standing committees. We met on the same day, got them done, and that was it too. So that took care of those, and then all the standing committees. The second thing was the board rules. So when I got elected in November, one of the first things I did was take a look at the rules of the board, and I revamped them. And so when I came into the office of chairman in January, I presented the board with a new set of revised rules. And if you might remember, we spent over 9 hours at our second board meeting reviewing those and coming to a consensus on those board rules. I knew those board rules were a priority because they became the groundwork of everything that had to happen, right? So we had to get those right, and we had to be in agreement, and it was actually a pretty good day. So that was the second thing that happened. The third thing that was critically important was the interim administrator. We didn't have an administrator on January 1st of 25. I had already approached Gary Rosema several months before that, the former sheriff of Ottawa County for 40+ odd years, and asked him if he would consider stepping in and helping in come out of his retirement. He said yes. He then approached the former deputy chief prosecutor of Ottawa County, Ron Franz, who had been the prosecutor for 45 years, asked Ron to come in as deputy. The 2 of them stepped in, and we just can't thank them enough. They're the ones that stabilized the workforce in Ottawa County. There's over 1,200 employees. There was a survey that MLive did in the summer of 24 that showed morale at an all-time low. The county commissioned their own survey, employee survey, in the fall of that year. It was identical. And so we were losing key people in the county. And Gary and Ron came in, and it was an instant turnaround. It stopped the bleeding, and in 6 months, people were coming back to Ottawa County. Because they have so much respect, and they know all the players in the county, they knew the employees. It really worked on that interim basis. All right. Next thing we did is, my objective is to stop the divisiveness in the county. Anything that was divisive, we didn't need it anymore. Time to heal and move on. And one of those was the prayer, the policy on our prayer that you just did, right? There was a lawsuit filed for discrimination against the county for how they handled their prayer policy under the prior administration, and we changed it. Now the commissioners say the prayer, and we don't have to worry about lawsuits anymore, right? It was an easy fix, easy done. But maybe the biggest thing, other than the interim administrator, that happened in the spring of 25, April, May, was we got rid of the county attorneys that had been hired originally by the former group. It is critical to have, as you all know, critical to have attorneys who are unbiased, non-political, that will tell you what you don't want to know, not what you want them to tell you. And this group of attorneys, for me as an attorney, I could not trust them. They didn't understand municipal county law. They got the county into a lot of messes, and they were politically focused. And I sat down and we negotiated a settlement. And if you remember, so this is like in April, in the prior December, they had drafted and got a prepaid $300,000 contract for the next 12 months, right? So we had to negotiate that back, and we did. And so when they were gone, then we could hire Ron Bolche from Dickinson Wright, just a competent, quality lawyer that you can just trust that he's going to give you good legal advice, whether you like it or not, right? And that was a huge step also to bring morale back into the staff. That was huge. It was a huge step. Then we started our first administrative search. I can't remember how many people applied for the job, 40-some. As you might remember, we had it narrowed down to 5 for public comments. 2 backed out for personal reasons. It had nothing to do with anybody. But 2 others backed out because of comments made by certain commissioners. They didn't want anything to do with it once they saw that happen. So we were down to 1 guy by what it was in June or so. And then we had the lawyers write a letter to all the commissioners saying, here's the questions you can ask. This is where you cross the line legally. You can't ask us, you can't say this, but otherwise you can say what you want. We didn't have any more problems with comments after that. But then the summer came. Oh, then back up. This prior group was responsible for 9 lawsuits against the county in their tenure. 2 were settled before we took over in 25. And this board started one. It dealt with, we took a contract called the Crockery Lake contract, if you heard this, where there was an agreement also in December of 24, just before we took office. The board gave a $560,000 promise to a small group, community group up in North Ottawa County for a lake association cleanup. When I looked at that contract way back then when it happened, in December 10th of 24, I couldn't believe it. It was supposed to be a $560,000 contract. My view is it exposed the county to unlimited millions of dollars in the long run. But I also questioned the legality of it, whether the board even had the authority to sign a contract like that. And so in this about May, the board approved us taking that contract to the court, asking the judge to decide if it's legal or not. And ultimately, by midsummer, the court concluded that the board had no legal authority to enter that contract. It was an illegal contract, threw it out, and we saved $560,000, right? And again, that was another thing that the lawyers were involved with when it went down. So then as the summer went, you know, we dealt with the county motto. Now, look, a guy sent me an email this week about this issue, and there are pros to both the former motto and the one that was before that, right? Where liberty rings, freedom rings, or where we all belong. Those are good mottos in and of itself, but they both became divisive to segments of our community. So this board decided, look, let's try to calm the rhetoric down in the county. Let's just avoid, we don't need a motto. We have images, we don't need a motto. Got rid of it. Things have been calm, very calm. At first it blew up, but it has been very calm. So we just kept the rhetoric down. In the meantime, I'm talking to the lawyers, the litigation lawyers about these cases. And I'm saying, we've got to get rid of these cases. And we started the John Gibbs settlement, and we settled all this, and I didn't think it was going to happen, but we finally settled the last lawsuit in December. The court dismissed the case 2 days ago. That was a Kleingens lawsuit, and I'll be talking about it tomorrow night at the board meeting, because we haven't talked about it publicly yet. But finally, I didn't think it was going to happen, but we settled all of the lawsuits that were facing the county in the last year, well, the last 2 years. They're done, thank goodness. Then in September, we started up the administrative search again. But by this time, the whole environment in the county had changed. Morale was high. There was good momentum. People were coming back into the county. We had 58 people apply for that job. Not just the 40, 58 more. And some people applied because they saw what had happened since January to September. And they go, wow, this is back on track now. We're willing to put our necks back in this. In fact, in the end, Patrick Waterman was one of those guys, and he couldn't be better. People love him. Love him. And so that's the stuff that we did, right? And I mean, those are the big things that had to be checked off in sequence. I'm glad we got things to a point now where Josh Berger is the new chairman, Phil Kyers is the vice chairman, and things are on track now for us to start making decisions as a board without so much animosity. I hope. I have to say that personally, I was hoping for more than we got, but it is what it is. We accomplished a lot, but I was hoping more as a board we could do more than we did. But now that stuff's, I mean, that group voted against every one of these things I just talked about, except the last lawsuit, Kleingens. So they weren't on board, right? We wouldn't have disclosed the minutes or the hearing transcripts that dealt with some of these things. The public would have never known about those things. So I think that it's going to be darn good going forward. So what did I learn? And some of this is not going to be different, but I've learned that national politics have moved into the county board or county administration. And that's not a good thing. I've learned that you can't hire people based on ideologies or political affiliations. You got to hire the most competent person with the best skill sets, no matter what. No matter what. Everything that you saw, that these lawsuits and everything, so much was because they were making decisions, even especially in hiring decisions, that led to poor administration. One thing after another. You can't do that. So unfortunately, national politics is coming in. Every time an attempt was made last year, to bring a political issue to the agenda, and I control the agenda, I refused. If you want to take it to the board and get them to approve it, fine, but I wasn't going to volunteer it, because if it didn't benefit Ottawa County, it was a social issue, national, state, whatever, that didn't benefit Ottawa County directly, I was not interested and would not put it on the agenda. We're a service organization, really. We parks, mental health, public health, roads, we don't need some statement for the sake of a statement that has no direct benefit to a resident of Ottawa County. That's how I looked at it and still believe that, and the majority of the board feels the same way. I also learned that there's a genuine communication breakdown between what's going on in Ottawa County and how it's perceived and understood in Georgetown. Because we don't have a radio station and newspapers here, like they do in Holland and Grand Haven and Lakeshore, those folks there know what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on. Unfortunately, people that I would expect to know what goes on here don't. And it's real, you guys know, it's hard to find that communication link. I'm not one to do that's on Facebook much, on social media. And I'm not going to engage much in that personally. But that seems to be the way that most people seem to communicate, right? And you get into too much other stuff with that. But anyway, there is a breakdown, and I wish it was others. And the third thing I learned is that Georgetown needs to get more involved in the county. Gary, you've said the same thing basically to me before on this. There is so much going on in this county, you guys can't believe it. I'm shocked. I've been here 35 years, right? I was president of the Chamber of Commerce of both these chambers here. I had no idea what was going on the Lakeshore. When I think of economic development as a business guy, I'm looking at Grand Rapids, and there's a huge organization in Holland that's doing the same thing, right? There are so many organizations and so many collaborations going on with people that we didn't even know existed. because we're the far end of the county.
Right.
And it's like there's a barricade. And so Justin, to his credit, I've seen him more in the last 2 months since he's taken over. We need more of that. Because every time I've been to a meeting and I'm looking around and I'm seeing the township people or city people and I'm saying, where's Georgetown? Right? How come Georgetown's not here? You can bet I'm being vocal about that, Gary. Absolutely. But it's true.
You want to see more of me? Is that what you're saying?
I do. I do want to see you more because it's important. If we're going to start to look at ourselves as a region and we have regional issues like groundwater and transportation and housing, we need to talk among the barriers of townships and cities. And the only way that happens is get in the same room. And so I would encourage you, and Justin, I already told him this, keep at it. Last thing I want to hit, the last issue real quick. Where do I think we're going? We have big issues facing the county. First is this CMH authority issue. We have CMH millage, which is totally unrelated to the authority issue, because the millage issue monies are not used to fund any of the services that the entitlement benefits under Medicaid. So it's a different pool, but we can't get it confused because we have a mental health population that definitely needs us to continue this service. So we have mental health issues. We have transportation. I'm going to be on 3 county boards this year that all deal in one way or another with transportation throughout the county to see if I can find linkages that we can cross-send and provide more global transportation, because it'll affect housing, it'll affect the jobs, Shape Corporation, others that are desperately needing employees on 3rd shift at least, for an example. So we have we have groundwater issue, we have water issues, right? So there are big issues, but Ottawa County, and I've said this during the campaign and it's true, we got misled a little bit, but we aren't lost. There are so many wonderful things happening and so many dedicated people working diligently out there that I really feel and the board is just doing great. The board is really good, and so I'm really optimistic about the future. I really am. There's a lot to do. Those are just opportunities. The way I see the future are opportunities to make this county better. The projections are that there are 306,000 people living in Ottawa County right now. 2014, 15 years from now, 340,000. Where are they going to live? How are they going to get to work? If they can't afford a car, how do they get to work, for an example, right? We're going to put the subdivision, and they don't have, Georgetown's blessed because we have public utilities, right? A lot of counties and communities don't have that. What happens, right? Because we had a groundwater aquifer problem. So there's some big issues, but I have such a high belief in the integrity and the goodness of people in Ottawa County, and so my optimism is really high. That's where I'm at. And I appreciate chances to come up and say hello to you guys.
Good report, John. And I know you didn't need to run for that position. You were probably content in retirement doing the things you were doing, but we appreciate making yourself available like that. It takes a lot of time.
Pleasure.
How would you assess the collegiality among the commissioners now at this point? You know, it was part of your goal is to reduce the acrimony and even if you don't see eye to eye, at least work together.
I would say it's cordial.
Okay.
Not what I hoped. In fact, I was disappointed as late as November at some things that I thought we'd moved past some of this. But people are talking. At least we're talking, right? And I really think that as we get on to more issues that are more global, like housing or water issues or the battery plant storage facility issues or whatever else, I think that those kind of issues, there'll be more common ground on those issues than in what we've had to do with this past year. I really do. So I don't think there'll be as much division on the board, animosity, so to speak, on the board. But I think overall it's been pretty respectful, at least, you know? So that's good. But we have work to do.
I only catch your meetings once in a while. Has the number of hours spent at each meeting gone down?
Oh, yeah.
The amount of public comment or emails you get and so on?
We have about, I was going to say something about here. Last time I was here, this place was packed, but I figured The reason nobody's here is Eric's here. Oh, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we have maybe 3 or 4 comments a night. And the meetings, so our meetings last about 2.5 hours.
Hmm?
Pretty good. So yeah, it's good. There's nothing to worry about there.
Where do you fall on this mental health board or commissioner talking about taking it off from the commission and moving a separate?
Yeah. The issue.
I've been trying to read up on it, but it's kind of confusing, to be honest with you, and I just haven't seen where there's a benefit to go from what you're doing now, but maybe I'm missing something.
So I'm absolutely in favor of an authority. And I came to that conclusion probably last fall. I've been hearing about it and trying to understand the issue for the last year. And I still have work to hear. I want to hear things, but here's a scoop, if I can get it in a nutshell. There's a public hearing tonight as we speak right now in Spring Lake. There's another one in Holland, I think, next week. The federal government, through the state of Michigan, provides Medicaid entitlement to people. You must provide the service no matter what. If they qualify for the service, you must give it to them. It's not an option. Community mental health boards or across the county, state, have to give it. It's an entitlement, right? The problem is that they're not paying for it. And what they do in Ottawa County, for an example, is they give you per diem payment, $3,000 a head, instead it costs $1 million to provide service to that individual, and they call them consumers. And that's true, and specific in the case, because an arbitrator ruled that the county in one case had to provide services to this gentleman that cost $1 million a year. One guy. And he's not even in Michigan anymore, but we get $3,000 to that one guy. So that's just an example. So at the end of this year, last year the projected deficit was $3 million. This year, and it was covered by the legislature in the end. This year is projected to be $5 million. Now, the state knows it's a problem. And so what they've done is there's been a tier system. So counties have their community mental health organizations, right? And over the years, there's a layer above them that they've divided the state of Michigan into 11 regions. We're in one of those regions, and it would be Ottawa County and Muskegon and Kent, I think, and whatever. Well, the money flows into that regional group and then flows down to us. That's the theory, right? But the money wasn't coming down. Kent County was a $20 million deficit, right? We're sitting at $5 million. Now, here's the rub. As a matter of law, we cannot use county funds to pay for entitlement services. So where does that $5 million deficit get paid from? Now, you think about it. Providers, the ones that are providing in-home care, right? And my sister was in that boat, right? For 30 years, I was her guardian. I had her in and out of foster home. She died in a foster home 2 years ago. I understand personally this issue. So those providers, those in-homes, sign a contract. I signed community mental health. I bet I signed over 100 contracts last fall as a county chairman, because I have to sign off on these contracts, right? So now you provide services, the provider provides a service to the customer, consumer they call them, and all of a sudden they don't get paid, right? Who pays them? Waiting for the state to pass it down. County can't pay because it's against the Michigan Constitution to pay it. Who pays it? So the provider says, well, wait a minute, we got a contract with Ottawa County. TPL signed the contract. We're going to sue you for breach of contract, right? It'll be a new theory. We'll start to sue the county under breach of contract theories. Now we're stuck in a lawsuit that where are we going to get the money to fund it, right? So what's interesting, which is what tipped the scale to me after I was trying to break all this, is, believe it or not, Gary, there is a law in the mental health code that says a county is not liable for the deficits of its community mental health if it forms an authority. Oh, are you kidding me? It's so blatant. It's one-liner. That's why of the 83 counties in Michigan, 78 of them are already authorities. And that's why Al Vandenberg, the administrator of Kent County, could care less about the $20 million deficit, because he's saying, not my problem. The state of Michigan is legally obligated to pay that authority, and it's not my problem as a county, Kent County. That's the head. So they just did an impact study, and they analyzed the four stakeholders: the consumer, right? My sister, for example, and they concluded that there's minimal change for them. No risk, same people involved, same service providers, a whole bit. Then they analyzed the providers, the people that provide the service. Moderate risk, as I just explained a little bit. Then they analyzed the employees. Are their wages going to be secured? Are they going to collective bargaining agreement? And we're going to be working with, the plan would be to work with community mental health for up to 3 or 4 years to help in a transition with HR and technologies and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be covered. So the only one left is taxpayers. The only one left is taxpayers. And that is a high risk given the current model as a department. And to me, I'm not willing to jeopardize that. When I know my sister's covered because the provider's covered, right? And I got a law that says, state, you're stuck with this and it's not my fault, then I'm not going to screw that taxpayer. And that's where I'm coming from on this. That's where I'm on the whole thing. So it's a big issue. It's worth a lot. And if we drop off $5 million this year, if we're owed $5 million, we got a $15 million bank account, so to speak, that we can get access to that could potentially, in 3 years, that would be gone if we were forced to pay it up. And then what happens to the rest of those services the county provides, right? It's too big of a risk, and it's an easy fix. So that's a nutshell.
Good explanation. Thank you. That's good, because like I say, I've been trying to follow this. Like, that thing's all over the board. I've done a lot of reading.
Now, there's a rub to that. I mean, look, when you create an authority, the question is, well, what kind of oversight do elected officials have on that authority once it's authority, right? Like the road commission. But right now, all we do as a board now is we appoint the members of the mental health board. That's not going to change. We still do that, right? When Dr. Purshurst comes and lays his budget out to us, he's still going to do that to us. So there's not going to be a whole lot of change in our oversight under an authority or a department as it is now. And so I see it as a no-brainer at this point, because I'm worried about those taxpayers, our taxpayers, and I'm not willing to risk that when I know my sister on the bottom line is going to get covered.
All right.
So that's where I'm at on this thing now. That's where I've come to. But we'll play it out. So there's a couple more public hearings. We'll hear more comments. I mean, people have been asking questions a lot. It's all going to get publicized when they all get done. Then I think in February or so, we're going to talk about it as a board. But then even if we pass and say we're going to move forward, it still takes another year for this to go into effect, right? So we have a whole year. If we find something's not working, we can pull it back. So there's not a lot of risk to us by moving this thing along and not get caught a year from now saying, okay, now you're at another year out to have to do something. So this is proactive thinking. This is what business guys do all the time. This is what we should be doing too.
Just one more comment. That guy that does like the 4 or 5 minute videos on the board, on Facebook, he does a good job.
Oh my gosh.
I pick up every board meeting from him, and then he's got on the minute if you want to go back to the meeting. I appreciate that guy.
He's just like that.
He likes the job.
He's a wonderful personality, always upbeat, you know. Yeah, he's a great guy. So anyway.
All right.
Thanks, guys. I'm not going to stick around. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to stick around that's why I didn't come up and shake your hand. I apologize.
Okay.
But know that I care. And
Coming tonight.
Guys, all that what you're doing.
Thanks, John.
If you didn't feel well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Sheriff DeBoer, your chance.
Good evening.
Eric.
Before I get too far along, I just want to yes and a couple of things that John stated. A lot of people don't know, but the county and the sheriff's office are co-employers. And so every deputy up to the undersheriff is both dealt with by the county and also the sheriff's office. So the vacuum of leadership that existed when I was undersheriff coming into my office as then sheriff, when John and I both took office, I understand coming into an agency where you kind of want to establish your way of doing things, the change that's occurred at the county level for us to be able to work with the administrator's office from both January under the the previous interim county administrators, and then from Gary and now to Patrick, has been a nice step of increased leadership throughout and long-time strategic planning, the type of thinking that we need to plan out in the future and not just put out fires. So to John's first point about the things that he's done and the board's done, I can't thank then chairman, now just commissioner, Peoples enough for all the work that he's done and how great the board is to work with as the sheriff. It makes my job a lot easier. The other thing I said that I want to yes and is Justin and his engagement and his working relationship with both the county but also with the sheriff's office. It's been wonderful, and I have a great relationship with Justin. He does a great job for you guys representing your interests, whether it be to work as a partner or to call me out if I've missed something. And so he's been a good friend to the sheriff's office, and I think a good representative to you. And I think it's good that you guys know that. So to move on, I wanted to first introduce to you Lieutenant Grenzer. Lieutenant Grenzer, I don't know if we talked about it last time I was here, but we were in the midst of a reorganization. So what happened was the undersheriff, we brought in an undersheriff from the outside. His name is Dave Cook. He did a long time in Kent County and then retired as the chief deputy in the corrections unit. He had come from the road but did both sides, and then was the instructor at GRCC's Police Academy for a number of years and was looking to get back into police work. And we brought him in, and I was explaining kind of how we did things in Ottawa. And I don't know if you've ever had it where you've tried to explain something to someone that always made sense in your head, but when you said it out loud, you couldn't make it make sense to someone. And so we talked about kind of how we had it arranged, and that doesn't really make any sense. And I said, well, you got to understand, here this situation is. And he said, yeah, is that a good reason for it to make sense? And we said no. So we pushed through the reorganization, which generally broke up the town or the county into 3 districts. I think we've talked about it in the past because it changed some of the sergeant's assignments here. Well, this finally went into effect. We were able to kind of get it moving forward, and Lieutenant Grenzer has taken his office at what we call the Georgetown branch. It's now District 4 headquarters, or the district headquarters for Southeast. And so he will be Justin's point of contact when Justin doesn't want to go through me. But generally, Derek will be first point of contact, just like Sergeant Tamiga kind of was. What's nice is that lieutenant's position will think a little bit more regionally. It won't just be what's going on with Georgetown. It'll be what's going on with Georgetown and the surrounding areas, because crime isn't localized. People don't live in Georgetown and commit crime in Georgetown and then escape from Georgetown to hide stuff in other places in Georgetown. It's regional. And so he's going to have an eye towards that. And so I might have to take Commissioner Teeples out for dinner because he was talking about regionalized assets and working as a larger part of the group. And so I'd heard, and I'd been engaged with Jamestown Township in a conversation that might impact Georgetown. And before I came to you guys with it, I wanted to see that Jamestown was engaged. And I know some of you have been approached by outsiders about this and had some questions. And so Jamestown voted no to even discuss it. But I want to just bring the concept to you because it might be something that if you're open to it, I'd be willing to look at throughout some other partners. And what the concept is sometimes we get more by sharing. And so in the Holland area, Park Township and Holland Township have long time took those unit deputies and shared them between the 2 organizations. And when the unit went away, they continued. And so they each have their own set of deputies. Park Township has a deputy, and Holland Township has, I want to say, 6 of their own as well. But then they share another 8. And in doing so, it provides the possibility that any one of 8 deputies might respond, but you only have to pay for, in this case, 6 for Holland Township and 2 for Park Township. And so you're paying for 2 and you're getting 8. And so I approached Jamestown to see if they wanted to talk and take one of their deputies, put them with the 6 unit deputies when the unit is put away, and have 8 deputies that would then both respond. Georgetown would get a deputy out of the deal and have 8 instead of 7. Jamestown obviously gets a bigger share of that possible deal of saying they're going to pay for 1 deputy and get 7 more. But that's only in response time and its responsibility, but not necessarily patrol time. So we'll have the ability to see how much time deputies are spending in each general area and either charge accordingly. In Park Township and Holland Township's case, we sit down every couple of years and say, how much of this resource are you using? How much are you using? Okay, let's split it. It was 60-40 when I started as a deputy, then it was 75-25 over there. Now it's, I don't know if they went to 80-10 or 90-10. I think they went to 90-10 this last year. But now when we'll be able to see how much time is each person spending, we can then charge appropriately. Conversely, if you're a township that says, I can't afford that much, I don't want them to patrol my area, I just want them to be able to respond, then we can say, hey, no, Lieutenant, tell your sergeants to make sure those pool deputies spend more time in whatever area is looking to have that resource more. So if Jamestown were to say, we like the shared concept, but we can't afford more than one deputy, we'd say, okay, make sure that the deputies spend the lion's share of their time in Georgetown, but are available for non-emergency calls out of Park or out of Georgetown into Jamestown. I'll preface this with, I don't care what the funding source is if somebody's in danger. If there's a call for service where somebody is in danger, whether a deputy calling for help, whether there's a domestic that's active and somebody's being assaulted, our deputies are going to go regardless of funding source. So your deputy might end up in Talmadge for all I know. If somebody's hurt and they're the closest one, they're going. As a Park Township deputy, I once responded to Spring Lake because someone shot at one of our deputies, or I was in Ferrysburg actually, which short of going diagonally through the county, there's really no farther you can go. But when somebody's possibly life in danger, none of us care about funding source, and I'm sure you feel the same way. So I just wanted to come to talk to you about that concept and just kind of get your feelings on if you'd be open to those conversations. There's no hard and fast of how much would it cost us, what would the other township partner be on board. I can think of 2 other townships that you guys are contiguous with that may pool or may make sense to pool. I don't know if they have the money to or the interest in, but if you looked at like Allendale, they have 4 deputies. Would it make sense for them to pool with your 7 and say, okay, well, on nights where we have Grand Valley football games, we can push people up towards Allendale. On days where, we know we've got an event down in Georgetown, we can push that car down there. Or if we're having a problem, park and rides getting hit with catalytic converters, we have the ability as the people that are keeping our eye on what the trends are to move people around to address those issues. So I just wanted that concept to be in front of you. I don't have any plans. We were talking to Jamestown just because we had turnover. Both of their deputies were reassigned or promoted, and it was a good time to talk to them. And the unit going away was a good time to talk with you guys. But again, Jamestown Township voted no to engage. They wanted 2 deputies that they specifically knew. It was against my recommendation as the sheriff, but each township is its own township, and they can decide how they want to work through those partnerships with me, and I'll obviously respect those wishes. But I just wanted to make sure that concept was in front of you. Because ultimately, with you guys, you have enough staff to staff 24/7, but for Jamestown, they're paying for 2 deputies. But that only means that every day, because they're on 12s, every day there's a deputy on from 8 until 8. But when that deputy goes home, they just wait for the county-funded deputy that works that area. And if he's up in Allendale, it might be a while. And so sometimes people that are in fire service understand that sometimes owning 4 quarters is more than owning a whole. So I was trying to explain that to Jamestown Township, but even understanding that concept, they weren't interested. But I just wanted to make sure you heard that from me. I'd spoken with Justin about it briefly. He said, you can talk to whomever you want about whatever you want as long as you come back and talk to us on the board when you're done. And so we were doing that, and it ended up being nothing worth a conversation about. But I know some of you may have been contacted and may have some questions for me about that, and I wanted to be the one to talk to you about it. So past that, you might see our deputies changing uniforms within the next couple weeks. The days of pink tan pants are soon to be behind us. So actually, the deputy standing in the back, Deputy Kilgore, who you may have seen at meetings from time to time, was a part of a committee that had looked at possible uniform changes. Those changes were taken up by our transportation and asset manager, and we have come out. You might have seen the Facebook post. We didn't have enough pink tan pants sitting in the back closet for 6 guys that started on the road on Sunday, so we had to give them their new ones quicker. We're still waiting on a couple more boxes, so you'll see in the next couple weeks a uniform change to green pants with black tops, and Class A's will be all black from now on, so you won't see us in brown any longer. So, and they're relatively comfortable, I believe. Have you tried yours on yet, Jason? Derek has. I know I have. They've been sitting because I'm a sheriff. I got mine early because I'm a sheriff. I don't get to wear it yet. So I sit and stare at it in the morning when I'm looking what suit I'm going to wear today and counting down the days. So we'll be there soon. Short of that, I don't think we have any other bigger bigger thing. We have lots of little stuff going on, always something new. I think that's the big changes that you guys will see. And so with that, I'll ask if there are any questions for me.
Thank you. Anybody?
How many deputies do we have in the township right now?
In your township, you have 4 community, 1 traffic, so 5 plus another 7 in the unit. So you have currently 12, I believe. Am I missing any? Jason? Derek? Yeah, the school, the SRO cars, obviously we have two deputies in Jenison, 2 deputies in Hudsonville. Right. You have a portion of those that, and I don't know, I'd have to look at your exhibit, maybe Justin. But do you know how many of them? Do you have a third of both of the ones in Jenison?
I believe so.
And then do you have any of the ones in Hudsonville?
I have 1.
Yeah, because the one is in the middle school, so Jamestown has a little portion of 1. So we split that up depending on where they're located. But as far as call taking cars, you have the 12. So
I only asked the question because I'm just curious if we're being covered properly.
Yeah, and actually Justin and I are having conversations about that, and that'll be a nice thing the transition that's going on right now with Derek coming in is kind of ill-timed because he's also in staff and command school with 4 other lieutenants and a sergeant. So he's in school for a week and then back out for 2 weeks. But we actually had conversations that he and Justin will sit down a little later in the year and really look at what our coverage looks like and look at, honestly, historically, we haven't been in a position, even if you wanted the spots to recruit, but I can say that we're actually doing really great right now as far as recruiting goes. I think on paper, we're down 1 deputy. We just, because last Friday we let someone go out of field training that didn't pass through. We have 9 in field training right now, 1 in the academy and 2 in backgrounds. So we're only -1. So historically, if you'd asked us, I'd have been like, yeah, we're 25 guys down. I can't, even if you wanted them, I couldn't find them. But I think if you get to the point, once the conversations are had, if we believe that it's smart to move forward with additional units, we could probably recruit and get that up and running. Allendale just added a deputy not too long ago, so I know we're able to actually entertain that. Holland Township's also looking at some additions, and then there's another township that's kind of asking around. So this is the time if we think that that's something we want to address. And once once we get some other things kind of worked out, we'll definitely have that conversation. And if that's something you guys want, we can definitely entertain.
Well, I just look at it from even these meetings. We've been short anybody being at the meetings.
Well, yeah, so that honestly was, that wasn't a shortage issue. That was a handoff issue. And we'll own that. In the handoff from having a sergeant assigned to the township to having a lieutenant in the area, that detail wasn't provided to the lieutenant. And so when it was mentioned to Justin mentioned it to Michael and myself and Derek, and so now we're aware of it, and so that won't be a problem going forward. It just wasn't communicated to the lieutenant. No. So that shouldn't be an issue.
When you were here last, you talked about you were hoping to be full force by March. You still on that still?
Yeah, so we're looking good for it. A couple of additions made it so that we might not be fully staffed, but we're not in the place that, that had to do with those 6 or 7. We had 7 in the academy, 1 broke his finger.
Right.
We had to roll him back, and he's in the academy now, and we don't have any expectations that he'll have any problems. So yeah, we're still on task, and honestly, we're getting emails and phone calls from friends from other agencies saying, hey, are you guys hiring? So I think there's been a decent enough culture change that's starting to get out some of the stuff that's happening here, and there's some excitement growing around Ottawa County. Good. My biggest, if you have friends that are in corrections, family members that are in corrections that are looking to relocate, that's where I'm having my hardest time. But honestly, corrections is a hard recruit.
Hey, Kevin's got relatives in correction. I don't think you mean that, though, when they get out.
I don't think it helps as much as if they're employees there. But yeah, we'll look at anybody. It's the backgrounds that actually is the issue. But yeah, our corrections unit, our division is still understaffed at this point. But we're interviewing weekly on that. So.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate all your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
All right. A lot of information tonight. And more information, it's item 9, communication letters and reports. We received for information.
I do have a couple of questions
on,
I think both of them are related to the Utilities Committee meeting minutes. 2 questions. The first, I just as I've mentioned before, there's not a lot of detail in those minutes, and so I would just be curious the rationale for granting one of those relief items and not the other. So somebody had asked for a relief on a late charge, and I read through their letter and kind of understood the explanation, but then the other request for relief was on a leak, and I just sort of wanted a little bit of a clarification on, do we have a formal litmus test, if you will, for when we grant relief or don't, or is it just totally subjective based on the committee's discussion? I'd just be curious to bring that here for a minute. So if somebody from the committee can either answer that question of how that was determined, or if Justin, if you...
I can answer that question. So we have a policy and an ordinance that we have to follow. And the committee, in the ordinance, I have to notify you as the clerk, and it comes to the committee for review. In this case, the church had a parsonage, and it was a leak between the church and the parsonage, and the water never entered the drain. So should the church have to pay for the cost of the sewer for that event? And the committee agreed that there should be relief.
Okay. That makes sense. And then my other question was related to the denial of upgrading the crosswalk signaling. And I wasn't sure if, the thing that I'm curious about is, my understanding is that based on the changes a couple years ago to the ADA, that if and when that signal at that intersection should need replacing, the township or whoever the municipality is, the authority for that signaling, would be required now by law to bring that signaling into conformance with the ADA, which is the visual or the audio signaling that was requested. And so I thought we might be a bit short-sighted to not only be responsible for 50% of that payment instead of the day coming when it needs replacing and we're responsible for 100% of it. But I don't really know how long signals last. I mean, maybe that's not for 20 more years, I don't know, but I just didn't know if we had really understood the benefits of only being required to pay 50% at this point in time, because of the way I understand it is that upgrade will be required at some point based on the ADA.
They're gonna put the signal in. We denied help, we're just denied help paying for it.
But I guess what I'm saying is, do we not feel some sense of responsibility as a public entity, the one who is normally responsible for that signal? If that school didn't go there and then that signal failed, we would have to put it in anyway. So it feels like, I'm not trying to unnecessarily spend taxpayer dollars, but is there not some sense of responsibility to assist in a public function that is for the safety of our residents potentially at that corner?
I denied this funding because of the safety. I feel that to put a signal sound device there on the second busiest corner in the township for somebody who is blind is being not safe, because you are relying on a signal for somebody to cross that street. And so I said, you're gonna do it, that's fine. But I don't want the township liability funding that, because I don't think it should be there.
But the signal would be required to be upgraded to that type of signaling if that signal failed.
They're gonna do it, but I also said to them, you guys almost got as much millage for, as what we do as a township, and so I said, they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it. It's just we denied funding it.
And I think and I appreciate that explanation. I think the second part of that conversation, or the second part of what I wanted to bring up, was related to the ADA requirements, and is that something that we will have to be thinking about moving forward? So my understanding was that with Title II of the ADA in Section 504, that now all signalings are required to be this audio style signaling at all intersections. So when they need to be replaced, we'll have to be replacing them to that level of signaling anyway. Do we know for sure?
Mr. Reinsford talked to Secret Rapids that operates our streets and signals, and he's probably the best resource for that.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes and no. So in our case, in this specific situation, they they were requesting speakers to be on, not the full audio. So if you wanted full audio to be fully ADA compliant, that was going to require a major reconstruction of the entire intersection, which was going to cost up to $200,000 to $300,000 after everything was said and done. So the ISD backtracked and said, whoa, we don't want to do that. We just want, so when you see the hand come up or the 5, 4, 3, they're going to install a speaker that literally just vocally says that, and that's not ADA compliant. So that intersection will not be ADA compliant even with the upgrades. Now the big discussion back and forth between Fred at the Road Commission and the gentleman in Grand Rapids who runs the signals, they were going back and forth. Fred was like, yes, it does need ADA, and this guy's like, yeah, I think so. And then they finally determined that no, it does not have to be full ADA compliant if you're only putting speakers to announce the signal, and all they're going to be doing is replacing the push buttons that are local, that are already there,
For the toned one.
not installing the other ones. So full ADA would be 8 buttons like we have at Baldwin and Brewer, because that had to be ADA compliant because it's a new crosswalk. However, this one, it would not be ADA compliant. And yeah, the Road Commission has no interest in making that ADA compliant anytime soon. Matter of fact, the guy in Grand Rapids is like, this is the reason why we do not make old ones and make them ADA right now anyway. So it was an unprecedented type of thing.
Yeah, I guess something to just consider moving forward. I don't know, I don't really understand that rationale, like we just don't feel like making it ADA compliant. I'm curious if...
It was cost.
No, I understand. Let me finish my thought. I'm curious the rationale for we don't feel like making it ADA compliant. Is there a legal basis for just saying we don't feel like it? It brought up other questions in my mind of, gosh, thinking about budgeting and dollars spent moving forward, are we going to have to think about bringing crosswalks into ADA compliance at some point, which I understand is costly. So it just got me thinking about being aware of potential upcoming budget items. That's sort of where I was going with it. That was the only questions I had on those minutes.
All right, anyone else? Item 10, public comments for action items remaining on tonight's agenda. So the comment period is open.
That was fun. Plumbing, Georgetown, or 6877 Creek Ridge Court. Great conversation on the ISD. Basically, the bottom line is, you know, that they're doing their own thing, and they picked one of the worst places to put a building, one of the busiest corners in the county. And then they're going to train people to walk across that street. I don't know how many people have to get hurt or killed before they stop doing that or move that location, because someone's going to get hurt. And then the person who's driving the car has to live with that. It's going to be sad. It's really going to be sad. The CMH part that John Teeples talked about, they're going to be their own separate authority. They're going to have their own budget. As he said, there's statutes that says the county doesn't have to pay for that. They could use their lawyers to fight that. But the big struggle I have, because I went to the meeting that was here at Georgetown in the library, is that if someone has gender dysphoria and if they come to some point that they don't recognize that, does that now mean that they can make guidelines that boys can play in girls' sports? And you may laugh at me, that will never happen. Yeah, but we had that happen with the health department closing businesses and bankrupting them. So don't say that government doesn't keep walking in that direction. That's my fear that's going to happen there. The other side of the coin is, I see that you're going to change the rule on the bid process. One of the items that you might have missed, because you talk about materials, equipment, you didn't put in there services when you go out for a bid. So just like Dean's Excavating, it was a service for $100,000. We didn't get 3 bids, but that was a service that should have then gone out for 3 bids. So on the services part of that new change in your bylaw or the policy, you should put services in there as well. What was the other thing? Oh, so also at the Ottawa County Board, John Teeples was talking about how he's just trying to stabilize the board, put everybody on committee. We have a new chair. Now, the former board members that are on the board now have been stripped of their committeeships. So the division on the board at the county level is still there. So just to know that the pendulum has swung the other way. So we'll be seeing what's going to happen out of the county because the remaining board members do not have a majority vote. So they get pushed out of a lot of different things. So just look for that coming up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll close the initial public comment period. Item 11, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Support?
Moved and supported. Again, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's passed. Item 12, resolution to update the charges for connection to the township's public sewer system as recommended by the Utilities Committee. Do we need discussion first, or someone wish to make a motion and place it before
I
the...
move that we upgrade the sewer connections.
Support?
Okay, moved and supported. It's before you, board. Floor is open.
So we're doing this because we have not raised commercial sewer connections in Blendon Township, and so we need to revisit that and increase those to coincide with what we've been doing on our connection.
Had it before, so this is as different parcels are being bought in Blendon, and we have a corridor down 48th Ave. We're preparing for whatever comes next, so this aligns us so that we have this in place.
Others? Is that it? It's a roll call vote.
Yep.
Wieringa,
Yes.
Beldink,
Yes.
Kuiper's a yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Grassman,
Yes.
all in favor.
All right, thank you. We'll move to item 13 this time. This is the air handler repairs. Is there a motion to approve the quote from Plume Service Company?
So moved.
All right, I'll support it. Again, out of utilities, and might bear some discussion as it relates to the choice of Plume and how we came to the need for this repair. Either utility member or otherwise, Justin?
I think
any
basically
thoughts?
comes down to is that we have a system, the air handler system that definitely needs repair. It's the system that services this boardroom. We've been told by Plume that it needs to be taken care of. The reason used to Plume is they serviced it, it's their product. Can't necessarily have another outside entity come in and service it. Because again, it's somebody coming in and working on somebody else's air handler. So it was just natural to go with Plume.
And we feel like that decision falls within one of the criteria for not getting 3
Yeah.
bids.
Eventually, this would be the most efficient way to handle this. If I have different vendors servicing different parts of the system, either I replace the entire system and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, or just repair one segment. Talking with our service rep, we have a system, it's 25 years old, but it's reliable, it's been here. He was able to make it work for 2 summers. He told me last summer, you're running out of gas here. Like, you can't keep on kicking the can. So I pushed this as far as I could, so.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Hearing none then. There's a motion before you. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It is passed. Item 14, local civic organization request to approve their resolution recognizing a nonprofit organization operating in the community. I guess this is for an event that will take place outside the community, but by rule has to come through this board for permission.
Yes.
Costs nothing to us. So is there a motion to approve of this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
Yeah, moved and supported. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Grassman?
Yes?
Pipers, yes. Waringa?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Beldink?
I abstain.
Abstain. 4 in favor, 1 abstain.
Usually we have to approve an abstention. I don't know, it's worth the time to dig in here because it's passed. So I think I'm gonna let that go.
Ms. Gort's here, so if after Kelly signs this, we'll give it to Ms. Gort and she can be on her way. So we're thankful for her time.
Nope, it's just me. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Item 15, election early voting, printing, and mailing services contract, somewhat goes hand in hand with number 16. This did come through the Finance Committee. I'll make a motion to approve of this early election voting, printing, and mailing services contract. Support. Moved and supported. This simply came down to, for those of you who are not on committee, we will otherwise expend our own funds to do the election printing less efficiently, more expensively. It's a cost savings to us, not to mention a time savings in terms of our people, our staff, yeah. So, yeah, those are our thoughts. And okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Item 16, again, election printing services contract. This is to approve election printing service contract as recommended by the Finance Committee. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support?
Moved and supported. Same rationale as previous.
Yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is passed. Item 17, this is a revision to policy 2005-06 about bid and quotation requirements arising out of, you might recall, I believe it was the last meeting, maybe the one before. We were talking about the MI deal. Yeah. So we tried to jump on that and try to bring that revision. So is there a motion to approve the addition?
So moved.
Support?
Sorry, the revision. Okay. Moved and supported.
I have a couple of questions, or a couple of potential minor revisions. I do think Mr. Plowman's comment is potentially warranted. I don't think it hurts in that second paragraph to amend that to say all supplies, materials, equipments, and services. I don't know what the process would be for amending that or if there would be support for that. And then I do have a question on, in that first paragraph, the 3 kind of exceptions. Number 2, when the materials purchased are of such a nature that price negotiations would not result in a savings to the township. Is that trying to say when we can negotiate for a better price than just if we bid, or is that not really meant to be in that sentence? It reads weird to me.
This is the, I guess, the Finance Committee, I guess, language, and I'm going to lean on our finance partners here.
Say it more clearly. We'd be happy to make the
Number 2, my understanding would be we do 3 bids always, except for these scenarios. So for number 2, I think it should read, we would do 3 bids except when price negotiations would result in a savings to the township. Don't you, isn't?
I think by price negotiations, are we referring to the bidding process?
So I thought it meant we would either bid, or if you think you can negotiate a better deal than what you're going to get through bidding. That's why I think it should read in the affirmative that we do bids except when we think we can negotiate for a better deal than would be bid. I was a little confused. I don't know why we would say except when negotiations would not result. That feels like the sentence doesn't even need to be there then.
I had read that for the price negotiations to refer to the bid process.
Oh, okay.
But if it's so, it's inartful because that doesn't involve a lot of negotiation as much as a submittal.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's why I sort of felt like, like in the case of a plume, if you knew that by asking plume you're going to get a better price than going out to bid by somebody, then to me that should read that we should remove the word not. It should be when negotiations produce a better price than the bidding process. That would be an exception to the bidding rule.
I'm guessing the reason for the exception, though, is that we're not so much focused on the ability to negotiate. We may not be able. It might be one of the situations intended to be covered where you can only really get one bid when the deposits. Okay, yeah, there you go. That's number 3. Fair enough. I mean, would it make sense if it said when the materials purchased are such a nature or of such a nature that the solicitation of bids would not result in a savings to the township? What comes to mind, Justin, under this number 2? Because I don't think this is the one that was added. This is one that was already in the language.
No, that's one that we changed.
This is the one. Okay.
Yeah.
So number 3 is not the one. I thought number 3 was the one that was being added here.
It was 3, but 2 I think was always been there, or we can.
2 was in there, right? We only added 1 here.
Yeah.
I may be reading it wrong, so I'm either looking for somebody to help me understand why it reads that way, or if it does need to be changed.
Might be best if you gave an example, Justin, so that we can kind of frame it in our mind. Can you think of a situation?
Materials purchased not result in savings. I'm drawing a blank right now.
It's interesting because whenever that language was added, you weren't here, right? I mean, it's like, okay, there was an impetus behind that at that time that apparently doesn't arise very often.
Generally, though, when you have a bidding process, you're not negotiating pricing during a bidding process.
Right.
So
It would make me think that an exception should be the ability to negotiate a better price.
And the exception with Plume was that the system we have currently is
Their system.
old, however, very serviceable and able to upgrade it and fix it without having to replace it. Having to replace it doesn't necessarily mean we getting a better system. So that's why it was cost savings to repair as opposed to replace. But again, during the bidding process, you're never negotiating a price during a bid. You're just accepting the bids when they come in.
Right. So, but we're saying we are providing exceptions to the bidding process. So understood that a bidding process doesn't inherently means no negotiation, but if we're offering 3 exceptions to the bidding process rule, then we should be accepting or allowing a negotiation as an exception to the standard rule. That's the way I read it. That's why I was so confused why the word not was in there.
Trying to discern that language. Trying to discern that language as was added. I mean, does it make sense either the way that Callie's describing, or for you to say when the materials purchased are of such a nature that the bid process would not result in a savings to the township?
I move that we table this and send it back to finance to have it redone.
I hate to do that, but it is a little confusing.
No?
Big deal. It wasn't a rush to get it here, so we'll think about that more. Yeah, go ahead.
I thought this was low-hanging fruit, so we can.
Yeah, no.
No, sorry.
It's funny, we've gone back and questioned language that was there, because it's like, oh, that's there already, what do we need to add? And the focus wasn't on what was there, so yeah, that's fine.
We'll sleep on it. Maybe a light bulb will come off, right, and you remember why it was written that way? I don't know.
It's difficult just because of the way.
It doesn't read clearly.
Look at the top of the page here. Adopted, revised, revised, revised. It's something that has been looked at and examined from time to time, and I think rather than have another revision right away in 6 months, send it back and we'll talk about it further, right? There's no rush?
There isn't a rush,
No.
no.
Okay.
We did have a motion and the support on the floor to recommend approval of it, so how do we?
Whoever made the motion, if you want to move to withdraw your motion and send it back to committee?
Yeah, I think I made the motion, so.
Have Gary.
And would that be your motion then, to withdraw your?
Yeah, withdraw the motion, send it back to committee.
All right, and seconded?
Second.
All right. Fair enough.
And on the two items, for the clarification on wording on item number 2, and for consideration of adding services to paragraph number 2.
Sure.
Yep. Very good. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it's been sent back to finance. Item number 18, addition to benefits manual related to gym memberships with the fire department, came out of finance. Is there a motion to approve the addition of these memberships for qualifying members? I'll move to support. Is there a second?
Second?
All right, it's before the board at this time. Just as a reminder, came through our committee, but I think we've talked about it. I want to say we talked about it openly in a meeting, right? So it's not a new topic to any of us here on the board. I do know that it was intended, the way it came to us, to memorialize in writing what was being done. And that when Justin first brought it to finance, I think the thought was, look, we're doing this, but we don't have the policy in place. So you either don't do it or you put the policy in place. So that is the nature of how this originated. And thoughts, questions, ideas?
So my thought is going to go back to the same discussion, is that if we're going to offer it to part of the employees, we should offer it to all the employees. So I don't think it's fair that we offer gym memberships to part of our employees, not all of our employees. I think it has to be across the board. If we're going to go to a full-time fire department, they're going to be employees. I think it should be offered to everybody. So I wouldn't support this.
All right. Yes.
Firefighters should want to be fit on their own for their own job and their own duties. So I do not feel the township should be, and our taxpayers should be paying for this. All of our firefighters' gym costs. I would support like a treadmill, a bike, some hand weights, maybe at the DPW building, and have like a little fitness area if they want to work out. But running is cardio and aerobic, and that is totally free on the lovely streets in Georgetown Township. So that's a great fitness option. So I am kind of a no for the gym memberships. I pay my own.
Kind of no.
I pay for my own.
Yeah. I had a couple of thoughts. I mean, it was something we were doing. We refined it, or I should say the chief presented it in a more refined fashion to say it's not covering families, and there is some accountability in terms of those in report that you've gone so many times you lose it, and then furthermore there's a inclusion of its benefit as part of the W-2, so you get taxed on it as if it were a benefit that had a value to it. So that helped me get across the finish line as far as my point of view.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, this is very different than just, offering free snacks in the break room. This is not a benefit in the sense of it's something that we just willy-nilly feel like we'd like to offer to folks. I do feel, I have two kind of thoughts on this, that their health and well-being is as critical as the oxygen tank on their back when they go into a fire. So for me, the health and well-being and providing the gym membership is the same as providing personal protective gear to these firefighters. That's the way I look at it. That's very different than a township employee. It's also very different than simply being a DPW worker who also should be relatively fit. There is more at stake in the health and safety of our firefighters as it relates directly to the health and safety of our residents. And I think that direct correlation is something that cannot be forgotten in a simple statement like, this is just a benefit that needs to be offered to everyone. I do not think the two are the same. And then the other is just the unfortunate can of worms that was open. This is something that's always been a benefit, if you will. We're sort of memorializing it in a more formal and more appropriate sense. And so I'd hate to see something get taken away because we're trying to clarify some language because it was brought to everybody's attention, even though it was sort of already a thing. I think if that were the intention of this, there should be sort of a bigger conversation, which I thought we had. But it is always the unfortunate can of worms when you try to clarify something and then you sort of go back to square one of intent. And I don't know that that's why we brought it to the table.
We brought it to the table because legally any benefit I give, I have to ingrain it in my book or have a policy so that if one group, like the fire department, gets it, then other employees, I say, no, you can't get this benefit for equity standpoint.
So then my first part of my statement saying that I believe that offering this membership is the equivalent of personal protective gear to the firefighters, I stand by that statement.
I guess
Anyone else?
my comment on that is if it was as important as the O2 tank on their back and their health and well-being, I'd like to see more of the guys participate. If only a third of them taking advantage of the benefit, that it seems to me that is it a benefit? You know, and benefit is something that you're using and taking advantage of. And again, outside looking in, if we're looking to cost save, and again, it's not a huge expense to the township, and I agree in the sense that we're just trying to codify it, put it on the books and say, hey, we're offering this already. I'm okay with that side of it. I would just wish there were a way that we would say, since we are offering this benefit, we need to see people take advantage of it. And especially if the fire department, if this is to keep them physically fit for their personal or for their job, you know, hopefully reduce the cost of insurance claims or time off or injuries, then I just, again, would love to see it being utilized more than it is. And, you know, granted, there's probably a group of people that are gonna go, yeah, heck yeah, I use it. And there's probably a group of people that say, well, I might use it, but I don't want my hand held to the fire. And there's another group that says, no way, I'm not gonna do that. Or they might have their own equipment at home.
But to that point, if they're not using it, we don't pay for it then.
I get that. I do get that. I understand that. But I guess I would really like to see it. Granted, I can't make people do what they don't want to do, right? But if it's being added because of it's for the health and well-being of the fire department, then there's probably some merit to that. So why aren't we saying, we're giving you this benefit, please take advantage of it? You know, I wish there would be a way that we could, you know, force the issue and say, well, are you physically fit for the job? Can you do the job? And is there some checks and balances in place for that?
I think that's great, and I think now in the moving to having these full-time firefighters, and I don't know the standard protocol. I mean, if we offer a physical fitness test upon hiring, do we do physical fitness tests annually? I mean, is it something that if we want to hold, especially in this move to full-time firefighters, a bit more accountable, you know, is that something we want to see from the full-time firefighters? One of the things that I kind of think, when I think about benefits too, and to me, when you use the benefits, you're sending a message to your employer that you're grateful for the benefits and that you want to be a part of the culture that they're setting forth, and that you're sort of like worthy of the job and you want to be a team player. I think it sends a message when you don't take advantage of it, and I think that's worthy of note in terms of an annual review or something along those lines. I think that's a very fair point.
I think we're doing physical fitness testing, aren't we?
For the new
Chief
hires.
did that on Saturday for our, yeah.
Okay, so you are, okay.
For new employees, but not for existing, correct? Is there anything for existing employees? Or
I mean, why don't we have something for existing employees? Should we have something? I don't know.
And to speak to why they don't all participate.
Chief, come to the mic, please, thank you.
Oh, we have a fair amount that
Participate with other, what do you want to say, through their wife. Their wife has the benefit. So they participate through the Y because of that. There's this huge push in the medical community to have free gym memberships being offered for general fitness for anybody. So with that, everybody's got their own kind of direction they've gone. Some have their own membership, some have their own equipment in the basement. They do their own thing. So because of that, we have a smaller amount that are participating in the gym thing. So.
And again, I assumed that was a part of it, you know, that there was probably those that had their own
yes,
gig to begin with. Yep. But again, it'd be.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yep. They have their own thing. They've already been doing their own thing. They've gone to their own place. They've gone through their wife's Y or out in Holland or whatever. They've got their own place that they go, so they don't want to participate in it.
I'm also in the camp with Gary that if we're offering it to the fire department full-time employees or basically all the paid on call, which aren't full-time, but
Mhm.
I'm in the camp with Gary of why aren't we offering it to the individuals in the office that are full-time, or parks and the guys in the Parks Department or Public Works that are full-time? And again, you obviously don't have any control over that, but it seems to me that if it's a benefit, it's benefit for one group of the township employees, it should be offered to all the township
Sure.
employees.
We have a duty to respond, and there's certain things that fall under NFPA guidelines, fall under things that we put forth that are going to be just for us, just like the water department. When they get a call out, they have certain things and guidelines that they fall under for water department issues. So this for us, looking forward, we're like, okay, we don't have a location to work out. Speaking to Amy's point, having some equipment, that's our ultimate goal. This is more of a Band-Aid so that we can offer this. We've already started the program. We're going to continue it until we get to the point where we can get our own equipment. And then at that point, we would do away with the benefit. So.
Thanks, Chief.
Yep.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Anyone else before we vote? Okay, hearing none, would you want to maybe call roll just so I can tell how it came out? So,
Sure. Grassman,
No.
but yeah, I was going to say no means no. All right. Yep.
Kelly,
Yes.
Kuiper is yes. Waringa,
Yes.
Beldink,
No.
All right, it
Three in
passes
favor, yeah.
3-2. All right. Moving on now to item number 19, second public comment period. At this time, anyone in the public who wishes to step forward and address the board, you can address any item you wish on the agenda or anything outside the agenda. Preferably related to the township, not your personal life. Okay.
Thank you. Half 1482 Winifred Street. Just interesting the commentary that we just had about the gym membership. It's just something I was going to point out. I just read a book called Younger Next Year, Living into Your 80s Like You're 50 Years Old. And it had a whole bunch of stuff about health. And one thing that was interesting about that was when they talked about the different types of training and what they actually do. Like Trustee Grassman mentioned, well, you can go out and walk and run in beautiful Georgetown, and I do that quite a bit, walking, during the summer a lot, 3 miles along our various lakes that we have at the parks. And that is very good for you. But when I was reading over that book, one of the things that really pointed out was when it comes to that type of training, and it helps you, all things equal, live longer. It really works to your heart really well. Weight training increases the quality of your life. Aerobic exercise a lot of time increases the length. And there's a lot of things. Yeah, you can do push-ups and sit-ups, but there's a lot of, as somebody that's spent a lot of time over the years going to the gym, just different things you can use with the weights that you really can't do through, push-ups and sit-ups and stuff that's all free. And another point that's I found out through years is when I had a buddy that would go with me and people I met at the gym, I was able to do a lot more and was motivated to go there more. And so sometimes when you're going to a gym membership, you meet somebody. I see Mr. Tibbetts at the gym I go to all the time, but I actually talked to him about this previously before once, and I don't believe he's on the membership that we're talking about, but I see him there all the time. He's doing different things that he can't do at home, and gym equipment can be pretty expensive, and unless you have a really big house, sometimes you just kind of run out of space to put it. So take it for what it's worth. I'm not blaming anybody for how they voted or, in the situation, but I do think strength training does offer a lot when it comes to your quality of life, not just the length of your life. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Anyone else? And by that, I mean Pete. No one else here?
Pete Plowman, 6877 Creek Ridge Court, Hudsonville. A couple things. Eric DeBoer, the sheriff, talked about his idea of sharing patrol officers and so on and so forth. I think, I think you guys think the same thing, we would like to have dedicated officers to Georgetown, and if we need more, I think we will pay for them. Pretty straight shooting that way, not maybe share them with Allendale or Jamestown or Blendon or whatever. We're more than willing to pay for the coverage. And one of the big deterrents for crime is actually having the presence of the police on the roads so people can see them, that we're well covered, and it's like, okay, we don't want to strike here. Otherwise, I think, based upon what I heard from the sheriff, it's like whack-a-mole. So they go put more guys over at one, like Blendon, and now we have crime here, now they put them here, so it goes back and forth. I think you guys will probably might agree that we'll pay for more sheriffs if we deem to have more. The other thing is on the bid process, I'm thinking the my deals, I think we probably will run everything through my deals and see what the prices will be. Because it sounds like it's a great opportunity, because on the flip side, on the Plume contract that you just approved, based upon what I heard from our superintendent, Justin, I mean, it sounded almost as if they'll get all the business from Georgetown because they have this track record with us. And I just want to, that means he'll have to check every so often to make sure that he is getting a good price for that kind of stuff, if that's the track we go. And then the third thing I want to talk about is the way we do agendas. There's many versions of agendas. Like this meeting, there's several versions of the agendas. And I think things get added and deleted at times. I would check on Friday, see the agenda. I would look at it maybe on Sunday and everything's changed. So I think it's almost, it feels to me deceptive. That may not be what you're trying to do, but it seems like it's like at the last minute things get changed on the agenda. And if I was like most residents, I would look on Friday, oh, nothing's going on, I won't come. And then Sunday or Monday, things change and they miss that meeting. So I'm hoping when you print an agenda that you stay to that agenda. And if you want to add to it, add it to the next meeting. Or here, you can vote to add items to your agenda through Robert's rules. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no one else, we'll close the second public comment period. Item 20, discussion and general information among the board. Anyone wish to bring anything to the board's attention tonight?
Yeah, just, I'm kind of excited about the 250th birthday of our nation. I remember the bicentennial. My parents took me to DC school. I just wonder if that's something we should have on the forefront as a township, of whether a banner across the road. I talked to Justin about that. He's just kind of expensive, but I mean, is there something that we should be looking at? Maybe more flags down Baldwin, or?
I have a whole list of things for the services meeting, and I am going to address them.
I digress to Amy then.
Come to the services meeting.
She's almost as patriotic as me, or maybe even more. So I'm not even gonna get in the hunt, and I'll let her deal with it. So, but that's my thing.
Nice, Gary. I remember that too. Remember the license plates and all that they did. It was a big
man,
deal.
it was
a big deal.
It was cool.
Yeah. Others?
I have something I'd like to read, but if there's other general public comment, I can wait.
Anybody before Kelly closes us with a reading here?
I guess I just like to say how impressed I am that we filled the banners for the veterans so quickly. It makes me wish that maybe we had room to put another 24 someplace, other than just around here at the township building. But it's amazing that how quickly those filled up. We were worried about, can we get 24? And we got 24 in, 2 weeks? So to me, I'm just impressed by that project. I'm, I guess, excited to see how it pans out throughout the summer.
John and I thought we could get 100 easily.
And you could. You two could.
That we would go to Meyer and say, can we hang them at Meyer? Can we, in different places? So, I mean, let me know.
Yeah.
If we
would Meyer underwrite? That'd be a question,
right.
Would they?
That too.
I don't think anybody would stand in the way of that.
And the bank is
if it
supporting us.
Yeah.
Remember?
You and John, I mean, you have this is right down your alley. And like he said, if there were 24 more that wanted to do it, I suppose the concern might be, okay, they're covering, a percentage of the cost. But boy, if there was a place like Meyer that said, you can hang them in here and we'll underwrite it.
Yeah.
Well, no one's going to stand in the way of that,
Yeah, I don't mind making those calls.
Great concept. Doesn't need permission beyond that, right? Right here. I mean, it's like, represent us that way and see what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Kelly.
I just, it's funny that Commissioner Teeples brought up
not talking about personal things. We're not talking about items that don't directly serve the people of the township. Just obviously with everything that's going on, something's been really weighing on me. And so I would like to read something that I wrote. And I just want to make very clear that this is my personal opinion. For the record, this does not reflect the opinion of the board. But I do feel like there are times when we are tasked with this platform to use our voices in a way that's bigger than just the day-to-day services of the township. I will also say that for somebody who is normally not at a loss for words and very strong in my statement, that this is just, it's very heavy. But as an elected official and a Republican, I believe that I need to use my platform to affirm my commitment to the rule of law and to our Constitution, and to my belief that the limited role of government is protecting life and liberty. Recent events in Minnesota, including multiple fatal encounters between federal agents and civilians, have raised questions about the use of force, civil liberties, and due process, the very principles of what I believe to be our government's limited role. These actions, regardless of who they were carried out by, are by definition the antithesis of the foundational principles of the Republican Party, and I do not believe they reflect the best values and traditions of conservatism. True conservatism means respect for individual rights, adherence to our Constitution, accountability in law enforcement, and due respect for human dignity. No matter how small my role here is as an elected official in the scheme of things, I believe that upholding the rule of law also means standing up against abuses when they occur. And I believe we must disassociate constitutional conservatism from recent conduct that jeopardizes civil liberties.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Service meeting will start